Have you had an argument this week? Think about the moments after the words stopped. It's not the fight that truly breaks a bond. It's the quiet that follows. The heavy air, the careful movements, the feeling of being in the same room but miles apart. But there is a small, learnable skill that decides whether that silence becomes a permanent wall or a temporary pause. It's the art of fast, small human repair. Here is the counterintuitive truth most of us never learn. Arguments don't end relationships, but failed repairs certainly do. What matters most isn't whether you disagree, but how quickly and how often you reach for reconnection once the heat of the moment has passed. The strength of a bond isn't measured in the absence of conflict, but in the speed of its recovery. To understand repair, we first need to understand the currency of connection. Researchers call them bids for connection. A bid isn't a grand gesture. It's any small attempt to connect. A sigh across the room, a hand on your shoulder as you pass, a seemingly random text message with a photo of a dog. It's a quiet question. Are we okay? Are you still there with me? These tiny moments are deposits into an emotional bank account. Each time you turn toward a bid with a non-sad, a smile, an answer, you make a deposit. Each time you turn away by ignoring it or responding with irritation, you make a withdrawal. Now here's the striking pattern from a long-term study of newlyweds. Couples who were still happily married years later turned toward each other's bids 86% of the time. The couples who later divorced, only 33%. It's a staggering difference built from thousands of tiny, seemingly insignificant choices that either filled the account or slowly drained it dry. That emotional bank account creates a powerful buffer during conflict. In stable, happy partnerships, there's a surprising balance. For every one negative interaction during a disagreement, there are roughly 5 positive ones. Now, this doesn't mean being artificially cheerful while you argue. These are subtle, powerful signals of goodwill, a nod that says, "I hear you," a softer tone of voice, a brief, reassuring touch on the arm, even a shared moment of humor about how stuck you are. These small positives keep the conversation from feeling like an attack. They signal that despite the disagreement, the underlying connection is safe. When that ratio slips closer to 1-to-1, the goodwill is gone. Every point starts to feel like a jump poem, and the channel for repair closes. Your emotional bank account is overdrawn. At that point, you're not just discussing an issue, you're fighting for your emotional survival, which is when the body takes over. Let's talk physiology. When a conflict escalates, your body can enter a state of defensive arousal called flooding. For many people, this happens when their heart rate climbs to around 100 beats per minute or more. Your attention narrows to a pinpoint. Your hearing changes, filtering for threat instead of nuance. Your prefrontal cortex, the home of rational thought, starts to go offline. It's that feeling of a tight chest, shallow breath, a hot face. You are physically incapable of processing a complex apology or a collaborative solution. In this state, even a loving gesture can feel like another attack. Trying to repair a connection while one or both of you are flooded is like trying to thread a needle in an earthquake. It simply won't work. The most intelligent move you can make is to call for a strategic pause. This isn't about storming off or giving the silent treatment. It's a mutually agreed upon break with the promise of return. 10 to 20 minutes is a typical window for the nervous system to calm down. The key is what you do during that time. Don't rehearse your arguments. Don't stew in your own resentment. Instead, do something to self-soothe. Walk around the block. Listen to a calming song. Splash water on your face. The goal is to let your heart rate drop so that you can hear your partner again. Once the emotional storm has passed, it's time for the micro-repair. These are the small, deliberate actions that mend the tear. They aren't grand apologies or promises to change forever. They are immediate, specific, and human. Think of a tense conversation about money. One person snaps, "You never think ahead." The air goes cold, but then after a 10-second pause, they catch themselves. They say, "That came out harsh. Let me try that again. I'm feeling worried about our savings." That simple act of owning their tone changes everything. These repairs don't erase the problem. They reopen the channel for connection so you can face the problem together. There is one behavior, however, that acts like acid on any attempt at repair. It's contempt. This isn't just anger or frustration. Contempt is disgust. It's the eye roll, the sneer, mockery, or name-calling. It sends a devastating message from a position of superiority. You are beneath me. Contempt kills the psychological safety required for any real connection. It makes a bid for connection feel foolish and a repair attempt feel humiliating. If you notice contempt creeping into your interactions, that is the single biggest red flag. The only antidote is to consciously replace it with a baseline of respect, even when you disagree. This brings us to one of the most liberating discoveries from relationship research. Most of your problems will never be solved. Studies suggest that around 69% of a couple's issues are perpetual problems. These are fundamental differences in personality, values, or habits that will recur for the entire life of the relationship. One of you is a saver, the other a spender. One needs tidiness to feel calm, the other thrives in creative chaos. You are not failing if these issues come up again and again. It's like one of you has an internal thermostat set to cold, and the other's is set to warm. You don't try to change each other's biology. You learn to manage the environment with blankets and open windows. Success in a long-term bond, then, isn't about achieving a state of perfect, problem-free harmony. The real win is developing a smooth, reliable cadence of repair around your perpetual problems. A brief misstep, a quick tune-up, and a return to your connected baseline. You learn to navigate the same old hills with more grace and less drama each time. Over the years, this rhythm of reconnection doesn't just manage the problem, it deepens the trust between you. It builds a shared history not of perfect agreement, but of consistently finding your way back to each other. So here is the core idea to carry with you. Don't fear conflict. Fear the quiet, empty space that can grow after it. The true measure of a strong connection, in your home, with your friends, or at your work, is not the absence of friction, but the speed and grace of its repair. If you can learn to reach out with a small bid, to pause when your body is flooded, and to offer a quick, human-sized repair, you can argue about anything and still grow closer over time. That is a skill worth practicing. If this idea gave you a new lens for your own relationships, consider subscribing to Knowledge Worth Sharing. We release one idea like this each week, designed to help you think and live with more intention. Thank you for your time and attention. We'll see you in the next one.